desire for water.
I guess the fairy season will do it. Doesn't feel like it could be my gifts I ordered for the boys' stocking stuffers.
All right, we're going live on YouTube right now.
Are we going live on YouTube right now?
Yeah,
So should I wait till you don't get my water?
whatever you want to do.
What time is it?
It's 5 o'clock.
No, just get water. All right, I guess.
Go ahead and get your water, it's fine. We're doing our tech check right now still.
Tech check.
So bear with us, everyone. Yeah, we're doing our tech check, so you can go back to that.
Check, yeah.
I'll do some housekeeping. If you're joining us, welcome. Watch this one, you're closer to the microphone.
Whatever, okay.
If you're joining us via the interwebs, we are Drawing Nature In. We live stream on YouTube Monday nights, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time to 8 p.m. We will be continuing to work on this painting today. You can always find more information at drawingnaturein.com, where you can also take advantage of our free consultation on how you can start doing your own art and also become part of the philosophical conversation here at Drawing Nature In. Today, we're going to be continuing this painting, and we are going to be talking about natural law and how it affects us. We will be starting here in a few minutes with a meditation and prayer, because we are a spiritual organization.
Cool. Start.
You can start.
Soon, now?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can say what we were. Talking points you mentioned earlier, we're going to use. Talk about like a natural law kind of.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever it was.
Yeah, so today, I want to talk about natural law applications in the practical sense. So we'll have to talk about natural law violations and how it may come up in our everyday lives. So you can keep that in your mind for after we do our prayer and meditation. So let me know when I should start that. If you want, unless you want us to do it.
way I can do it. I'm gonna come over and sit down right now and we can get it started.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay. All right, let's take a few deep breaths in and try to relax my throat of the day. So first of all, I want to just point out that one thing we have, I'll say for myself, I have failed to do is to think of art, the act of creating art and the materials as instruments of spiritual significance. So it was brought to my attention that I should bless my art materials before I start using them and enter into a space of recognized receptivity to the divine. And just to give a little context on that, what I'm observing in the world right now is just this frantic attempt by humans to try to gain authority over each other, even in the freedom community. And under natural law, there is no authority except the creator. The creator of the universe is the only authority. Natural law is the only authority. So as an artist or a person who engages in creative acts, I personally have to start to have more reverence for my tools and for the process so that I can expect to receive information while doing art. And I'm just going to encourage everyone to start to take a look at that. My original response was that of annoyance because I don't want to have to wait to go through that kind of process before I start. But that is conditioning by the machine. And I'm trying to act against that now. So it's with that framework that I'm going to proceed by doing a meditation and prayer for us so that we can get into a different mindset for this collaboration. So imagine that you are in a beautiful place that you feel safe in. And look around and observe what you see. And then notice that there is a doorway somewhere in the beautiful place. Walk over to the doorway and open the door. And see a set of steps going downward. decide that you're interested in finding out what's going on down there. So then start walking down the steps. To get to a place where the steps come to a opening, go through the opening. And find yourself in a cave that's very comfortable. And explore the cave. Find a box in the cave. Open the box. And there will be something in there for you. To help you. Now it's time to go back. Close the box. Give thanks for the message. And go back to the stairs. Climb the stairs back, upward. To the door. Open the door. And be back into the beautiful place. Now I'm going to ask for direction. To the Creator, we ask that you will direct our conversation and our creative collaboration for the highest good, and help us to use the gifts that we were given in the world. Show us how we can be beacons of light in this time that we're in, and help us to make the best use of this time we have together constructively for the good of anyone who comes to see this presentation. So be it.
Time to get going.
Now get going. So, okay.
Seems to be rolling as
Oh, I'm standing right in the camera.
good, good.
Okay.
Good.
Natural law,
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
practical application of natural law.
Well, you always have to start with love. That's one thing. Because fear is what enables or with what justifies authority. Fear justifies authority.
So, yeah, I mean, fear justifies authority. Right, because fear blocks you off from your connection to your intuition, and then you seek a human authority or a material authority.
Or just like if you're afraid and you think maybe an authority might have to protect you because of your fear.
Mhm. Well, I mean, I don't know. Right now, this cryptocurrency money thing is like on the tip of my brain power right now.
Yeah,
So we could just talk about that for a while.
sure. Whatever you get, pour out what you need to. We'll discuss it.
Well, I mean, the freedom community right now believes, a lot of the people in the freedom community believe that cryptocurrency is the answer to all of our problems, somehow believing that it's separate from globalist agenda. And there's no way that can be true, because as long as people are making money, we're hooked in to the globalist agenda. So it's going to become another tool of enslavement. I mean, we all do have to make a living while we're in the system. We do have to somehow we have to get by while we're in the system, but we also have to be looking at alternative ways to trade with one another and hopefully eventually get completely away from currency altogether, which I know a lot of people can't imagine that. So that's why like barter currency is a good alternative to start with. But you know, just anytime, you know, this is something like about usury and the interest thing that I don't know if everybody understands. And it's a complete and total violation of natural law. The usury interest thing, because in nature, there is no such thing as credit. There's no such thing as interest.
Nothing such thing as that.
There's no such thing as debt. There's no, in nature, like if you're living in the woods, you just find things to eat. You find, and the animals, the trees
Yeah, or
just
you're-
give freely of themselves, and that's what we're using as a model.
Using nature too, just like, not using nature, but aiding nature, so nature can aid you. Because you could live, we could live as humanity where we have all these like growth of like gardens and food growing everywhere. That would be us aiding in nature,
Yeah, so
But
just
yeah, like ultimately any type of currency is a belief system, and so what we need to do is figure out how we can just share instead of having to have a belief system or currency, because guess who backs these currency belief systems, who enforces them? The authorities, right?
right.
There's I don't have the book with me, so I can't quote exactly out of it, but there were some of the earliest presidents and our founding fathers were confronted by the banking families of Europe way early on, and they were honestly, they were trying to keep these banking families out of the United States, our founding fathers, but these banking families had very big power, and they threatened them, saying, you will experience war after war after war until our banks are allowed to operate on your land. And that's what happened.
Yeah, that's what happened. I mean, I think Kennedy
so-
was assassinated because he wanted to, for a number of reasons, but one of the things was he wanted
No, you're exactly right.
an alternative currency.
He
for
tried to
the States.
replace the Federal Reserve notes with US Treasury notes. And he had like a couple thousand or a couple 100,000, maybe even like 1 million of that in currency in circulation. And that's a lot of speculation as to why he was assassinated there. And the same thing is actually true for Lincoln, and his assassination was apparently due to he was trying to replace currency to help fund the war, and I think it was called the greenback dollars or whatever, and that was separate from the banking cartels. So yeah, there's a deep, long history. So, these are the authorities that are forcing with force, violent force, to keep these control systems that we look at as money in place.
So, let's talk about solutions though.
Yeah.
So for
Solutions.
example, okay, just FYI, the LITIS system, this is still a barter currency idea, but there is a system online where you can create a barter currency tracking. Actually, it's not online, it's just on the computer. You can actually download it or keep it in a ledger book and simply barter with each other in a community situation. To start to transfer your mental ideas to barter from using FRNs. That's one thing. The other thing to do is to make a list of all of your skills, all the things you know how to do. that maybe you don't even think about. Maybe you know how to, maybe you're really good with dogs and you could walk dogs. You like to hang out with dogs. You're a good dog trainer. Or maybe you like kids and you really are good with kids. Or maybe you're a good baker, or maybe you're an artist, or these are all skills that maybe you're not getting paid for right now, but that you could use. Or maybe you're strong and you can shovel the walk or something like that. So one way to start to think differently about this is the next time it snows, just shovel your neighbor's walk and do it anonymously
Oh, yeah.
so they don't find out about it.
I used to do that when I lived in Denver because I had a elderly couple that lived next door to me, and often I would shovel their walkway and their driveway for them, just to make their lives easier, just out of the kindness of my heart. I wasn't expecting any kind of like thank you. I wasn't expecting any kind of payment. I just did it because I knew that I was younger and more able, as far as, just based off of observing these people, that it was a lot easier for me to shovel their snow than it was for them. I'll just put it that way.
Right. I mean,
So I did that, and it only took me a few more minutes, because it's like we're talking like small, like city driveways. It was just like a couple like 10 by 12 foot thing, what I mean? It's not that big a deal.
but just to go through the process of doing something for someone else without expectation of a reward and not getting complimented by other people would be a practice of natural law, of simply doing it in a selfless manner. So not only do you not get paid in money, but you also don't tell anyone that that you're doing it. And that would start to train the mind to away from having to get paid for every little thing you do. And also, we also get paid in other ways other than money. We get paid when we tell other people how great we are because I shoveled the neighbor's wall.
Yeah, it's like feeding your ego when you say something like that, right?
Right. So try to do it and not tell anybody about it, because I've done this myself, and it's really, really hard because I always do want credit. I want credit.
You want credit. Everyone wants credit.
Credit, which I really want to look that word up, because I wonder what it means. Like,
That'd be
really
interesting to find out the etymology of that word.
Because it doesn't make sense. It has a double meaning there when it comes to to credit cards and one thing about using credit, this is another violation of natural law. I'm not sure that everyone would agree with me on this one, but using credit cards is spending your future. It's like you're deciding what's going to happen because you're going to because you're saying, oh yeah, in the future I'm going to be able to pay this thing off, when I have no idea what's going to happen. I have no idea. If I can't buy it right now, I probably shouldn't buy it. I know, and that's impossible these days. You can't like buy a house or whatever with that idea, but it's definitely worth thinking about. And especially with
that's just the whole concept of having to buy a house is against natural law to begin with.
Oh, that's true.
Because part of natural law is we're born onto this world, so we deserve a place to live on this world.
That's true. That is true.
It's part of our inalienable rights is to have a place,
Right, a lair.
sacred lair.
A lair. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's an inalienable right. Yep, that's exactly right. Yep. How do you get around that right now? I don't know, but yeah, something
Right.
I was just reading. I just heard someone say the word mortgage broken down means mort, to die,
Oh,
and
yeah.
gauge means something like death grip. So you engage in a grip. or maybe gauge is grip. So when you
Oh,
get
yeah.
a mortgage, you're engaging in a death grip.
Pretty much.
So, yeah, I mean, to just try to change their thinking a little bit about money. And about giving selflessly, and try to start to give selflessly. Like, remember in the old days, and someone would move next door, and the neighbor would come over with
Like a plate of brownies,
Yeah.
or like a, like a pot of like chili or something,
yeah.
Welcome to the neighborhood. Here's we noticed you guys were moving all day. Here's a pot of chili for dinner.
Yeah,
Since
right.
you
I
probably
mean,
didn't have time to cook anything.
Yeah, I mean, that never, in my neighborhood, like nobody, I don't know any of my neighbors. I don't speak the language of any of my neighbors. And I know when I say this, but I can't, I cannot be a changer of that at the moment because of the situation. But my neighbors, and I had neighbors move in across the street, and I just prayed for them because I knew I couldn't break the code to do that. But my neighbors to the left of me, I've given them vegetables and they've given me vegetables before. So we're kind of starting to break that code of silence thing that's happened.
Yeah, it's interesting. I live on like a road where there's 4 or 5 houses that we all cross the same bridge. And there's a small little private road that all of our houses are off of. And there's easements and all that stuff. But like, we all kind of contribute into like snow, especially on the bridge. We like try to keep the snow off the bridge so it doesn't get too icy and stuff. And so we don't have like a set like, it's your duty to shovel the bridge on this snow, and I get the next one. It's just kind of like, if you have time to shovel it, you shovel it. If you don't, you don't. And it's like, we never even enforced that like rule. It's not like a mandate. It's just like, at least me and one other neighbor, we're having some turnover in the neighborhood right now, so it's not as contributive as it was. But me and this other neighbor, we've already both had shoveled off the bridge 2 or 3, at least 2 times this year. It's been a kind of a dry winter here in Colorado. It's been kind of weird, but yeah, just things like that. Like, it's kind of forced in our neighborhood since we share that road, and so we kind of all kind of pitch in to maintain it.
Yeah, well, out at our property, where we have property outside of the city, we live at the end of a very long dirt road, and this one neighbor has a grader, and he grades the road after every storm.
Nice.
And I think most people pay him like $100 or something like that a month or something like that. I don't know. But we just trade.
Yeah, another thing, instead of having a currency that you could think about is, there's a lot of people in this world, right? And so if we're all contributing in a similar cause, then we can get a lot done together. I mean,
Oh yeah, that lie that
basically,
the government is supposed to take care of the roads.
basically all that would differ is like, we're already doing all the stuff we need to do. It's just like, instead we could just share all of our skills, and and then we could still have time. Don't worry, scientists, you'll still have time to do your science experiments, because you're probably gonna have to work like 4 hours a week helping in the gardens, as a contribution, to the community of
Where are you
of
getting the
people.
science? What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, it's basically like, if you do the math, like let's say you live in a community of 100,000 people, right? Well, how many if you times 100,000 times 4 hours, that's 400,000 hours of work that could be performed just in one day, 4 hours. Because you have 100,000 people, and if everyone contributes to the 4 pillars of like basically of survival.
Okay, wait. Why don't you reduce the numbers a little bit? Because the 400,000 people, how big of an area is that?
A pretty big area.
So.
But you could reduce the numbers and it still works out. But so like basically there's 4 main areas that we have to really pay attention to in order to survive. And that's, food, shelter, health, and this other one. Food, shelter, and health. Those are the 3 main ones.
Well, there's another one we're not thinking of.
There's definitely another one that we're not thinking of right now.
So chance, maybe it'll come to me.
But anyways, this 4 hours I'm talking about that you would contribute to the community per day or per week, however we set that up, would be, that would go to like, maybe you would pitch in on the the community farms to help with the crops, right? Or you would be, if you have a medical background, you would spend that time working on the medical sector, contributing.
Okay, but this is extremely theoretical. Let's try to think of how to bring it down to, this is why we look at barter currency just for the moment. And for people who've never looked into this, I would just recommend looking into Ithaca Hours. It's online. Ithaca, New York have their own alternative currency. It's been going on for like 35 years, and they trade amongst themselves using this currency, and then they save their FRNs for things you have to buy with FRNs, like gas and that. So, but the way it's broken down is by hour, labor hours. So, so 1 hour equals $1, 5 hours equals $5. Like that. That's how it's broken down. So it's easy to understand. Mm-hmm. And so then basically, it's all, the whole problem only comes up when you have an ego issue about whether your things that you do are more valuable than your brother's things that they do. And that's where, you have to do your spiritual work on yourself to decide that your work is equal to your brother's work. Mm-hmm. So is a painting that I do equal to like however many hours I spend on a painting, equal to however many hours it takes to bake, some delicious pastry or some lasagna or something like that. And can I see myself like either directly trading a painting for a lasagna, or using barter currency to accept payment for artwork or for food, prepared food. So that's what we're trying to do in our community, is to create basically a dollar, just to help people to be able to comprehend the situation and not, tweak your mind out too much. But I've already seen it where, like, this one healer chick said that her $128 healing session was more valuable than somebody else's thing. And so that's where, that's where the system will break down. So that's where each of us has to do our due diligence and ask ourselves, do we want to get out of the system or not? Do we really want to get back to where we were when we were free? Or are we so attached to our idea of how valuable our products are, you know?
Mhm.
And so that's what each person has to do for themselves to.
Well, yeah, it's all about value and what is value, and what is valuable.
I mean, and to me, like, I would
Yeah,
rather
that's
have the lasagna
In
made
some
by
ways,
a
that can be
friend
subjective.
than buy it at Whole Foods, honestly. You know, I mean, I don't want to buy products from
Right.
Jeff Bezos' company or whoever the hell owns Whole Foods now. I don't know anymore who owns it. But
Amazon.
Amazon probably owns it. So I just basically say, well, I do this artwork, and if I can do something for someone else that they want, and then I can get something that I want, I can, for the greater good and for the promotion of freedom, I can come down off my high horse of, I have a master's of fine art, and I spent $1 million on, perfecting that, and all the things I've studied, and yada yada. I can leave that up to God to sort out. And for the greater good, I can try to participate in the barter currency. Because honestly, like, the other thing too, I have to think about is the environment, I mean, living the way that we live is destroying our environment. I don't believe in the climate change bullshit. It's, to me, totally a globalist creation to further enslave us.
There is some data that would support that in these ice core samples too. As far as they have these ice core samples over like 200,000 something years that they've studied the sediment and stuff in the ice core, and they've postulated the like temperatures of the earth throughout all these hundreds of thousands of years. And they basically, when you look at the chart, it looks like a heartbeat because it goes. So the temperature of the climate of the earth is, it goes up, it gets really hot, comes down, gets really cold, and we're still not currently to this day up to the hottest point that the earth normally gets in its cycle of going from hot to cold, from hot to cold. But
I mean, what things that we are doing as a collective are causing harm to the environment.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm not saying
I know, and I'm not saying that you're not, but I'm just saying that this latest, crap coming out of the World Economic Forum. But I mean, if we were spending more time trading with each other, we would have less packaging that would go to the landfill. We would have, we could be more conscientious about the things that we use to as our medium of expression. Thinking more about
yeah, well, we have to stop materialism.
Oh yeah, stopping this is a great way to stop materialism. I mean, trading with one another is a great way to stop it dead in its tracks. I mean, this is and to me, like, to believe that any quote unquote currency that exists on the internet, which was created by CERN and came out of a DARPA grant in the 60s, is just a foolhardy idea. I mean, we want to believe that you can find freedom from the internet, but really it's just further restricting our freedom, honestly. So we would be free if we worked together and in a small tribe community type thing. That's why I try to get you to come down from 100,000 because
fractalize, fractalized, independent communities that are all over the world that are peaceful with each other. Yeah, that would be great. And
Right.
yeah, but even if you go down to like 1,000 people, right? And if 1,000 people worked towards the survival essentials for the community
1 hour a day.
4 hours a week,
for-
that would be 1,000 or 4,000 hours of work going towards these essential things to sustain human and community life. And so, and when you're producing these things, you do 1-to-3 ratio. So if you're an artisan or whatever, or like a baker, you produce 1-to-3, for everything. So like, if you make one, if you're a household and like you guys are all cooking, you make 1 loaf of bread. No, you make 3 loaves of bread or 4 loaves of bread, 1 for you and 4 for the community, No, I did that math wrong. So I'm doing math in the air, can always get tricky,
Yeah.
So
Doing math. at
so
all.
you do 1 for yourself and 3 for the community.
That's what
and
you just
so-
said.
Yeah.
No, but you could do even 2 for yourself. You could even do 3 for yourself and 1 for the community to start with.
Oh, yeah,
That
for
would be
sure.
better than doing nothing for the community. I
Yeah.
mean, the true
And so it'd be
nature
sharing.
of Satanism is the idea that I'm gonna get mine and I don't care what happens to you. That's
Yeah.
basically Satanism, which is what
For
they're
sure.
pushing. They're pushing that right now as the best way to go. And it may seem like it's all right now, but it is not. You'll see.
They've been pushing it for a long time too, because that's what what do you think like kings and queens used to do in the dark ages? That they hoarded all the stuff and they were the authority that distributed the goods to the community. Well, I think it would have been better to take that middleman out of the situation and the community just produces their own goods and shares them, in a fair manner versus the king hoarding everything and deciding, oh, like you guys get this much, but oh, you guys are a lower class, so you only get this much,
Well, right. So this is a total violation of natural law. Like
Yeah.
you don't see this in nature at all. What you see in nature is,
mutual aid.
well, you see all kinds of things. You see, the apple tree just produces so much abundance for
abundance,
the
yeah.
whole community, and even when a pile of apples are rotting on the ground, it's feeding the earth it's nutrifying the soil. So, I mean, that's what nature does for each of itself. And, it's just a mindset. To me, it's a fear-based mindset that I'm not gonna get mine if I give away any of what I've got. And
Yeah,
that's
it
just
is.
not true.
It
It's just a
is.
lie. It's a total lie. Because in fact, you will get back so much more. I mean, this is my experience. I just try to give. The more you give, the more you get. That's how I try to
For sure.
live my life.
Well, I think part of it is just like this greedy, like selfish mindset we've been duped into thinking like, oh, it's my family. My family has to be hyper independent. Well, that's not going to happen unless you have a community around you helping you, and so it's really everything is about community, even health. It's a proven fact that people that are part of communities are healthier and they stay healthier. It's like these people who are elderly, but they are part of a community, like maybe it's just like a book club, or maybe it's just like a bingo night, but that's enough to keep them healthy because they're part of that community. And those people, like if they miss like a night of bingo, then some of the other people that are part of that bingo night are like, oh, where's so-and-so? They didn't, usually they tell us if they're gonna miss a, bingo game. And so that's, you have people that are gonna check in on you then, like, hey, is everything okay? Usually you're at bingo, what's going on? Oh, like such and such happened, so I wasn't able to make it, or whatever, Or I slid into the ditch on my way over there. Oh, we'll send Joe has a truck. We'll send them over there to get you guys out,
Exactly. So this whole thing about
But when you look
Thinking-
at that equation of the whole manpower thing, no municipality can compete with those numbers of manpower hours when everyone in the community is contributing.
right, except, I mean, it's just hard to imagine how we would get to that point, but we have to start somewhere, so we can start in small ways. Just by trying to change our mindset, by trying to give anonymously. Like you could even, another thing you could do, which would be a huge challenge to the ego, would be to pay for someone's groceries behind you in line. Or pay for someone's meal at a restaurant anonymously.
Right.
These are, ways to
Train your brain to be less selfish.
I'm not telling people to do anything I haven't been challenged to do myself. But it's just a way to train. And I mean, I would immediately notice like terror. Oh my God, I don't have the money to do that. Oh my God, what's gonna happen? But you'd be amazed. Like when you do that, oh my God, you basically tap into a font of abundance just by acting that way and initiating an act of
Kindness.
kindness or generosity.
Yeah, or like, what about this one? Tipping your waiter or waitress 100% on the bill.
Yeah, that would be.
If they did a really good job, or
Yeah.
maybe you sense something in their life where they needed extra money. Who knows? I mean, your intuition might tell you that this person needs help financially, so you could do that.
Right. So that's one topic that's.
I think ultimately it's like, in order for humanity to really thrive, it's like we have to get over this notion of self, me, selfish. Like,
Which is being perpetrated upon us. I mean, it's not like we came up with it. It's being perpetrated upon us through the media because the globalists want us to behave this way because it's a violation of natural law. They want us to violate natural law, which will give them the power differential that they need so that when they live within natural law, they can get over on us. That's what they want, unfortunately.
for sure.
Well,
they don't want to lose control ultimately, is what's going on. Because it's all about control, always has been, always will be, as far as their agendas.
but the thing is any kind of monetary system that's based on interest or the stock market or up and down or any of that stuff, that's them. So that includes cryptocurrency, I'm sorry to say, and I'm sure people will totally tell me I'm full of shit. And I have cryptocurrency, don't get me wrong. I have some. I have it because I'm on the Hive blockchain, which I know is a front for the CIA because I saw it in WikiLeaks. I'm just going to say this right now. I saw it referred to in WikiLeaks, and I saw the logo, the red hexagon logo. It was created as a honeypot, and a bunch of us fell for it. I personally didn't actually buy cryptocurrency. I just posted in there and made a bunch of it. But a lot of people have bought into it and think it's like our way out. And it's just foolish to think that anything,
Well, it's just another belief system.
it's a rabbit hole, but
It's another
but
belief
it's
system,
not
right?
only just another belief system. I mean, it's also setting people up to be data mined on the blockchain. And it's going to be, anybody who thinks that the vaccine passport is its solo project isn't seeing the bigger picture. I mean, it's all combined together. I haven't really figured out how exactly, but I'm pretty close to just getting rid of my account altogether, but I just don't talk about anything valuable on there anymore because I know it's being tracked. Everything's being tracked on there, you know what I mean? So really, once again, our best bet is face-to-face communication. So find your like-minded fellows. Like, I mean, in our neck of the woods here in Colorado, we have a bunch of groups on Telegram, but only some groups are meeting. So some people have to drive long distances, and I think that's just the way it is right now. And eventually, it won't have to be like that. But again, I mean, it's all goes back to the same way things used to be, like when people were face to face, like having more communication with people face to face. And doing like a barter trade currency potluck, get together and do it, do presentations of what you have to offer every week, and have it be like a fun time. And
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think another thing though too is like beyond that though, is like, I think right now it's like we have this world view of like this dream. It's like this American dream to have the like big house and a nice car and like I know everyone doesn't astride to that, but it's almost like it's being forced on us, this American dream. And that's how you should live your life. You should have like a white picket fence and a nice house and a nice car, but the reality is not everyone gets that. But and that's all, it's kind of like a dog eat dog capitalist, if you're successful or this career, it pays way more than that career. And there's all these factors on how you're going to achieve this so-called dream. But that dream is really just a trick because it's not. That shouldn't be the dream. That's kind of a sick worldview, in my opinion. And that's one of the problems. We need to change our worldview and how we see our world. We need to see our world more as like a community of brothers and sisters who are all in it together. And that if we contribute, we can have massive amounts of abundance. I mean, just think about if you took our world population today, and if one person from, like, if one person ate an apple and took the seeds out of that middle of that apple and planted an apple tree, we would have how many billions more apple trees started? I mean, that's a pretty big number, right? And that's just one person.
well, I mean, I think I agree with what you're saying. I think that in terms of natural law, like we have to look at when one suffers, all suffer.
Right.
That we're all connected, and this idea of competition is part of the globalist creation. We're not in competition with each other.
No, we're not.
We could be working together to live together in a harmonious way. And when I say together, I don't mean just humans. I mean
Oh yeah,
everything on
animals,
Earth.
plants.
we
oceans,
We
streams.
wouldn't be, if we were really not thinking that way, we would not do anything that would cause harm to any living creature or the earth. And we're all waiting around for someone else to do that, like, oh, we'll invent some way, means of transportation that doesn't cause harm to the earth, or something like that. That's what we're waiting around for, because we're saying, oh, well, I can't make the change myself because I have to work and I have to make a living, blah, blah, blah. Well, I mean, each and every one of us is gonna have to make some sacrifices if we're going to get free before, I mean, we're going into complete totalitarianism if we don't, each and every one of us do something. And it's part of the lie to believe that I myself don't have a contributory part in the solution and in the problem.
For sure.
I am the only one that I have control over my actions.
For sure.
And so I'm gonna have to be the one to
Lead by example,
yeah. And of course it pisses me off when I realize this sort of thing, like we're having a show in July. And I just thought today, well, I guess I can't really accept FRNs for any of my artwork. That's gonna suck. And I'm sure that the owner of the gallery is not gonna like that either. Or I'm get, because he's gonna make 60% off of my. Well, because I've got to walk my talk. I mean, what I might have to do is I might have to dedicate a few pieces to this instead of all of them. I might have to say, well, this piece and this piece I only accept barter currency for these pieces, and then I'm only gonna, and these pieces would be for sale so that I could appease the contract with the gallery. But the thing is I can't, I'm gonna have to start walking my talk more. Like, I mean, I just have to, I have to start leading by example.
Like if you're gonna
I'm gonna
poo-poo
say this.
FRNs, you're gonna try to stop using
Yeah, I'm
that
gonna try to,
at a
I'm
large
gonna,
level.
yeah, I'm gonna
much
have
as
to
possible.
try to, have a different way to do things, which,
That can be tricky, right?
yeah, well, it does, it's not, it's just about, it's a reliance on God rather than on money,
Mhm.
I mean, I have a job, I have a job where I make FRNs.
Right.
And but I can look at that as if it's not a forever. It's not a forever. And I can look at, how can I I mean, we do have actually 2 or 3. We have one in Longmont. We have a community exchange less system starting up in Longmont. We have one starting up in Broomfield, which is near me, and we have one in Morrison starting up. Actually, that's going to be catering to everyone as well, in case you might know that. And we can just start to develop that. It's going to take a while to develop it, so you don't have to freak out like, oh my God, I suddenly have to just burn my FRNs. But no, I'm not going to burn my FRNs. But I could just start to, offer certain things that I do on the site, like, logos. I would offer them. There's different things that I have skill at that I can do to try to build community and try to develop this idea into a reality. So I'm not just talking
For sure.
what other people should do and not doing it myself.
Yeah, you got it. Walk the walk, right?
Yep. So,
So soon we're gonna be accepting cryptocurrencies on our for donations for our cause.
yeah, we are, probably. But, we have to know that, I just actually, I got a reading from someone. Well, this guy who's on Hive with me, he did a tarot card reading about how to live in the system while trying to get out of the system. And it basically said, just don't try to, basically the theme was live simply so that others may simply live, was the theme of that answer to that question. And then just try not to feed the ghost, try not to put too much or get enthralled by unnecessary technology or unnecessary new things that you have to buy with
Mhm.
FRNs.
Right. Well, I think part of it is worldview. Like if we could shift humanity's worldview from I have to compete to live to I have to contribute to live, that would be a good thing, you know.
Well, so, how do we, I guess each one of us has to do that, like each one of us. has to.
Individually, yeah.
So, how I can say to myself, what am I doing? How can I contribute to my community?
And it may not always be with art either. You know?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying art isn't a way to contribute to community, but there might be other things that, because with freedom comes responsibility too. So it's like you have to, there's a level of responsibility, to have complete freedom.
Oh, here's another thing that comes to mind. This is something that I have done in the past and still do. And that is tithing 10% of my income to people I feel are putting the great work out there.
Mhm.
That's huge. You want to talk about like flip out your fear of financial insecurity, like make a bunch of money. Like I just got paid for my last 2 weeks and it was low because of Christmas. And now I'm going to give 10% of it to somebody on my list of people. Like it could be, well, sometimes I give money to this woman down in Fountain who has a rescue horses ranch.
Nice.
Or Mustang rescue, or I have a list at home. I can't think of it. But there's just people who do the great work. Like I used to give a lot to do this with Mark.
Right.
When I wasn't making much money, I would just give him Bitcoin. But yeah, that's another way to like bust open your financial insecurity and start giving selflessly. I'm just telling you, it feels really weird to do it, honestly.
It's like counterintuitive.
Oh my God. It's very hard to do. But I think it helps me personally to let go of where I think the money's coming from. Like it's not coming from me, my efforts, it's actually coming from the creator. Again, like it goes along with natural law. It goes along with the apple tree, like how much the apple tree produces versus who actually gets to eat those apples.
Mhm.
And the apple tree just produces like so many, and so many just rot on the ground,
Yeah.
and
Sure.
It doesn't care. It doesn't have an ego problem with that.
No, it's just like I made these apples and It could be, they might be, they might not be.
Right, but then of course people come along and gather up the apples and sell them. It's so funny.
Yeah, or they,
That's part
or
of it.
they gather up the apples and they make hard cider with them and share it with their friends and family,
Right, right.
you know?
Yeah.
Or they, you know, get the apples before they hit the ground and they make a bunch of applesauce to share with their community, you know?
Right, but it's just the idea of ownership, like, it's just looking at nature versus how we look at it as if we own nature. You know, I think, and this comes from this idea of, I think it came from some, you know, religious text that told us that we had dominion over.
You know, it came from the Roman Catholic. When the Romans took over the Catholicism, they added that part of the Bible that gives the Romans, you know, authority to, you know, govern essentially. I can't remember what part of the Bible that is, but yeah, that wasn't there until they took it over, that religion, you know.
Oh, I don't know about this. Tell me,
Yeah.
tell me a story about this.
There's a part in the Bible where it's like basically talking about how God gives the, you know, Roman government like authority.
Really, where's that? Give to Caesar what is Caesar? Is that why?
Something like that. Yeah, I'd have to revisit it to like fully
I don't know. Makes me wonder.
articulate it, but like I think that Mark has a section in one of his videos where he goes over it too.
Well, I'm sure they did do stuff. I mean, they
Um,
took a lot out of the Bible, and I'm sure they added stuff into it to make during that council and Nicaea thing. But
Yeah, it's basically like giving, you know, humans, it's basically saying humans have the right to rule over other humans.
oh, and and have dominion over the creatures of the earth. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just so
yeah,
wrong.
and
It's
so-
just so wrong. Oh my God,
Not in nature.
so wrong. I mean, of course, people cite, you know, how animals eat other animals, which maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe so. I don't know. That's,
sure. But, I mean, I guess I do, but I mean,
it's not kill or be killed. That is so not true. That's not
that's
nature.
not really. See, but there's a difference between hunting to survive and hunting for sport.
Oh yeah, animals don't hunt for sport.
Yeah, animals don't hunt for sport. And that's a big difference there. Big difference, I'd say. Yeah, typically, I mean,
So now the next thing that's coming to my mind right now is, next violation is coercion. I think it's related to the monetary system because I think we were coerced into believing that this was good, this is a good system. And
definitely.
and coercion means basically that you're not told all the information when making an informed decision. You don't have all the information. And
It's kind of a manipulation too, where maybe someone lies to you in order for you to do something that you don't want to do. You know, that's a form of coercion, right?
but I mean, the thing is, I have to look at myself and see if there's anything I'm doing that's coercive. Like, when would I do something like that? I just have to, because I do have to look at myself and all these things to make sure, because I mean, I'm very capable of coercion, for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think as a parent, you fall into the trap of coercion with your kids a lot just be like, especially when mealtime comes up
Oh, tell me.
and you're like, oh, if you finish your, you finish your meal, then you get dessert. If you don't finish your meal, you don't get dessert, kind of thing. That's a form of coercion.
How is that coercion?
Because you're
Isn't it true that if they don't finish their meal, they're not gonna get dessert?
well,
Or
not
is that
necessarily.
setting up the,
Not necessarily, because you could not finish your meal and still get dessert.
Really? Do they? I mean, is that how you guys, do you
Well, I
go
mean-
back on your?
Well, I mean, that's like when you're manipulating someone into doing something, then that's a form of coercion, right?
yeah, but I mean, I don't know if, I don't know. I mean, is it true that you will give the children dessert if they finish their meal? Then it's not coercion because it's true what you're saying.
Well,
I mean, yeah, you're setting up the carrot and the,
yeah, you're basically saying you have to do this thing in order to get this reward, which I see as a form of coercion. But sometimes, see, this is
isn't
another
that
thing.
real
It's a
though? Isn't
balance,
that
though.
true? In life,
Well, yeah, there
you
is.
have to work hard in order to get rewards for.
Yeah, there's no free lunch, right? But
Right.
like, I mean, there's a different strategy too, where you could say, here's your dinner and your dessert. I expect all of that plate to be empty, and then they can choose, oh, do I want to eat my dessert first or my dinner first? But like after, going through a couple meals where they eat their dessert first instead of their dinner, they might figure out, wait a minute, my dessert tastes better, so maybe I should save that for last, because then I'll retain that good taste in my mouth for longer versus
You know
eating
what,
the
I don't
good thing first.
I would never learn that in 1 year. But I mean, so that goes along with,
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like when they were like, oh, if you get this shot, then we'll give you you'll be entered in the lottery to win.
right, but that's
$4
totally
million.
different. I mean, wait a minute here, though. No, it isn't the same because, like, for example, we are just talking about self-ownership and how in reality, you actually own your children until they are mature enough to make their own decisions. So that means that you have to guide them
Right.
and, I mean,
But maybe
I'm not
there's
sure.
a better way to guide them versus saying, oh, if you don't eat this, you don't get dessert.
that's true. Probably.
Because maybe they had a big snack and they're not even hungry, so they're like, maybe they're full and they physically can't eat it because they're so full,
Yeah, I'm just not, I think you might be comparing apples to oranges. I'm not really sure that that's coercion. Like, I would think that the
I
Santa,
guess-
I
I
would say the
guess-
Santa lie is more of coercion than this food thing. I mean, the fact that
Probably,
you're
yeah.
telling your children that Santa is real and then feeling that from them, which is totally a globalist move. I know that's a total, like, to get the children to feel betrayed by their parents and never be able to trust them again. There's a total globalist move that, parents fall into, and it's a cultural thing, and I don't know what the solution would be.
Mhm.
I mean, the solution could be really,
Well, it's like, it's
Community
a tricky
and-
one too, because it's like, oh, you're like, you leave that out of your kid's childhood and then they're jealous. How come
yeah, there's no.
so and so doesn't come to our house every year? How
Right.
come we don't get this to celebrate this thing that everyone's celebrating?
Right, I know. I mean, I don't know what the answer would be to that, except I think more that community would solve that problem in a better, because they would have less reliance on material possessions and more reliance on face-to-face people. So it might ease the letdown of the.
Well, I think you could still have a time of year when it feels special, and like you get gifts or whatever, and like, you
Give
know,
gifts, give
give
gifts.
gifts so that you can receive gifts as well. You know, I feel like that could be a fun thing, but it doesn't have to be this lie about this magical entity that delivers these gifts.
Satan.
I mean, Santa.
You know what I mean? It's kind of that kind of, I mean, if you're just honest, be like, hey, look, this is the holiday, we get these gifts. It's like,
Yeah, give a time of year when you give people gifts.
beyond what you would normally give on just a day-to-day basis. You know,
Or, integrate gift giving into every month somehow. That's an interesting idea. I'm sure the globalists would love that, but, I don't know.
I'm just thinking that this whole gift giving season is almost like just a way to support materialism,
Right.
you know,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
which is what we need to get away from materialism, because it's wasteful and it's exploitive, you know.
So, yeah, I mean, and it's violation of natural law, totally. I mean, how is nature materialistic? No, it's not, is it? Nature. No, nature doesn't do planned obsolescence.
No. It's like, it like grows an apple and it doesn't care if the apple gets eaten or goes to waste, but you eat the apple, you're gonna be happy you did it, you know?
Right, but when you say goes to waste, it goes to waste, and waste is nothing.
And maybe it actually doesn't go to waste.
Well, waste is a thing. Waste is humus for growing the next year's crop.
Yeah, it actually doesn't go to waste.
There
It
is no
goes,
waste.
it gets mushy, and then it, you know, gets goes back into the dirt, becomes dirt again, and helps fertilize the soil for that its very own tree that it came off of, you know. It's like composting, like the apples fall from the tree, the ones that don't get used just compost back into dirt and feed the tree nutrients, you know?
Right.
Over time, the rain, you know, the apples rot, they get moist, and then the rain hits, or like hail maybe comes down and like breaks that up, and pretty soon it's just like a pile of mush, and eventually that pile of mush breaks down and flows down into the soil, and then it goes right back into the roots of the tree to help nourish it to grow more apples.
Right. Yeah, so there is no waste in nature.
Yeah, so like nature has like all these like cycles, you know, that are unwasteful. Like it's funny to, like, when I was a kid, I'd be in church. I used to think about the fact that I probably was drinking some of the same water that Jesus drank when he was alive. You know, because
Right.
you know, he drank some water, he went over, urinated someplace, and then eventually that urine mixed with other water, or maybe he urinated into a creek, and then eventually that all the moisture from that creek evaporated and then fell back down on the
Right. It
water.
got caught up in the jet stream and it swirled around to Colorado.
Yeah,
Right.
you know, maybe the drop of water that I'm thinking was the same drop that Jesus drank. It may have been that water has been drinking by probably 1 million or more different humans throughout the time that humans have been on this planet, you know.
Yeah, no, that's a really good,
It's a cycle.
well, again, yeah, that's nature. How nature's not materialistic.
So
I mean, nature doesn't use the blood of the earth and call it oil either. The blood of the earth stays in the earth. And it just uses what is available, not by drilling. I mean, I guess if there was an earthquake and there was some oil that was revealed,
comes out naturally sometimes,
then it would be,
you know.
could be useful in some way, I guess, but No, I mean, everything that nature uses is,
People, things happen like gophers groundhogs dig a hole and then they hit an oil vein and it pops out. And, they have to move on and go dig a hole somewhere else, right?
is that
Put their
true?
home somewhere else.
Is that what happened?
I don't know, maybe. It could happen,
Sure,
right?
it could
It's like,
happen. It could happen.
it's like what,
But
there's
then they
people.
don't stop and like,
There's people who randomly struck oil in the early days of America that got rich because their farm had rich in oil, Some of them
yeah, the
found
Beverly
that.
Hillbillies, remember that?
Yeah, right. I mean, that's a
Indian.
fictitious story, but I mean, it's not that far fetched that someone dug a hole in the back of their property and there was oil there instead of water.
Right,
They're
right.
digging a well,
Right, right, but the
You
point is, that, oil, petroleum products are the basis of the pharmaceuticals that we're taking, and
Well, pretty much everything, all the plastic junk we buy for each other is all made from, it's a petroleum-based product,
right, I mean, we don't really have to be living like this.
I mean, I think it was like in high school, we did this thing in one of the science classes where we found out, there's like this picture and it had all these items and it was like circle every item that, oil, is in or is required to make. And it was like pretty much like 80% of the stuff in the picture,
Well, right, so is that saying that materialism is based on big oil? Pretty much.
Like
The
I'd say-
Industrial Revolution,
85 to 90% of the things that are materialistic products have need the use of oil to make, or even like oil is one of the foundational ingredients in making it.
so that's interesting.
Like, I mean, all plastics are like a petroleum product,
Right,
all, chapstick.
oh,
has,
yeah,
depending on, I mean, you can make it without using actual crude oil, petroleum, but, you might be using a different type of oil or
well, yeah, plant-based oil.
beeswax or, still oil.
Right, well, not saying that all oils are bad, just
No, no.
petroleum, just the earth's blood oil
Yeah.
is not great. And to be dependent on that. I mean, they want to tell us it's dinosaurs, but honestly, I don't buy it. Sorry, I'm not buying the oil dinosaur thing. That's just a way to drive up the price.
Vegetation.
Yeah, I'm not buying into that crap anymore.
Well, they like to do that, they like to take something that is abundant and create the illusion of its scarcity. Like one of the big things they like to do with stuff, And that's what, going back to when I was talking about like the kings and how they were in charge of, the farmers in the community, and basically the farmers would have to hand their crops over to the king to distribute to the community, right? And so, yeah, it wasn't always a fair distribution. But what was the king doing there? He was creating scarcity for some and abundance for himself, right? And so they're all about creating scarcity out of abundant things.
Right.
And
Well,
how do you do that? You put it in a store and make people pay money so they can have it.
yeah, that's because that's what perpetuates their system. That's why this is their system.
I
and
think
not
a
ours.
great solution for humanity would be to change our thinking and say, hey, guess what? Our whole purpose as humans is to, work in conjunction with nature so we can have abundance for all. Right? I mean, wouldn't that be badass? Like, think about like all the cool stuff.
All right, well, let's bring that down to like, how can you implement that
look
right
at that.
now? How can you implement that idea right now, though? Let's just think about that. I mean, because we can't make humanity do anything.
Oh, no, I mean, I think that individually, you know, it's like if everyone has their own personal garden, it could help that, you know. And yeah, I understand there's people that live in areas where you can't really garden. I kind of live in an area where it's difficult with gardening because we have a northern exposure. We live on the side of the mountain where the sun doesn't hit the property, you know, for like almost a whole winter. You know, we still have a lot of people, you know, it snowed here recently, not too long ago. And like if you look across the street, those people's yards are pretty much melted. Ours still full of snow because of the sun exposure. But there's ways around that too, with like, you know, having aquaponics system that you're running, or you know, we could probably build like a greenhouse that would help.
Or maybe, you know, maybe
You know.
you could do something else. Maybe you could focus on something else rather than that. Maybe.
Oh yeah, our focus in the community might be on something else. Like, hey, look, we're gonna help build houses, you know, because I have a talent for knowing how to measure things and construct things, you know. I probably would have been a good engineer.
You could still do it. No, I'm kidding.
I could still become an engineer if I wanted to, but I don't really want to.
No, not in this. In this.
But like, I mean, you could easily become an engineer, or, I mean, we could easily help people in our community build their shelters or keep their houses in working order. Or I could even just like, there's plenty of ways you can contribute, you know. Maybe I would be on the road, you know, committee that helps maintain the roads like in the winter time. Maybe like I go drive snow plows or something when it snows.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Instead
I'm
of
just
growing
trying to
crops.
think about something like a way to think about it, that is something we can do right now, even though we don't have the community situation of the, you know, our hoped for community thing. Like, what can I do? You know, I mean,
We could make quilts.
you know, you could, I mean, just get in touch with like-minded people in your community and see if there's a desire for having a group up there.
Or just starting yeah, like you said, just maybe do a potluck dinner and invite members of your community, local community in, and you know, come up with like a community plan for, you know,
Yeah.
what people will do. Like, you know,
Yeah.
oh, we have a background in medicine, so okay, you guys can be the medical team. Oh, I have a background in, you know, construction. Okay, you're part of the, you know, hospitality team, you know.
Well, right. I mean, that's kind of, we are doing that. Like you know, my partner's going to be doing the second ham radio class is going to happen in January, and hopefully those same people are going to show up. That we're having a hard time in our area congealing a group, so I'm having to drive an hour up to Longmont to be a part of their group, so that I feel like I'm doing something, because right now we just don't have. We had something going on during the summertime, but then we lost our space, and then we kind of disintegrated. So right now I'm basically driving to be a part of that other group that's
Up in Longmont.
up in Longmont. But I mean, I do know that there's a chick in Broomfield, which is not far from us, that's starting a community exchange. And, you know, I'm going to suggest to her that we do potlucks. I cannot do them at my house right now. My house is tiny and still not not out of the woods of man cavedom to be able to be open to the public, but because we have these giant dogs. But you know, I'm gonna try to recruit other people to do the potluck, and then, you know, I mean, I would just offer to clean up or something, offer to help with the potluck.
For sure, like sometimes there's even like, you could even just have it at a park. I mean, maybe not in the winter time.
Well, right, the whole point is it's the winter time right now, so we have to keep the momentum going
But,
during the winter,
for sure.
because otherwise people, I mean, people's attention span right now has been so devastated by all of the environmental. We have to really try to keep the momentum going and keep it going, because we basically lost our whole community that we were meeting every month. We were meeting, you know, we were just talking in the program, which is so gross. I mean, I like Telegram, but it's just social media, and it annoys me that that's all we're doing.
Now you can do like calls, like live calls on.
Oh, yeah, you can, yeah.
Telegram.
Alcio's gonna do instead of using Discord, he's gonna start using Telegram, I think. Then, or maybe I'm wrong, maybe not. Maybe he's gonna use Telegram for his media course. He's gonna use Telegram for his
Instead
media
of Zoom.
instead of Zoom, yeah. Which, you know, it's free and it's a little bit more,
Can you? I wonder if you can stream to YouTube from there.
I don't know. He doesn't have that need, I guess.
Well, he's not streaming his course onto YouTube, so yeah, we wouldn't do that. That could be an option for us too, for our paid
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
Our paid course, we do have paid courses where you can learn how to observe nature and heal through drawing nature.
Yeah, learning the fundamentals of art and then applying it to your spiritual life is a whole long course. It takes a while to learn how to draw and paint, and then later you can use drawing and painting to develop your intuition and healing capacities. So, we'll do that. But yeah, yeah, I guess I could say that the internet, the social media is coercion, because it promises so much more than it delivers. Let's break to drink some water here. Oh. Well, I'm able to stand up more longer. That's good. That's definitely a sign that I'm healing up here.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, thank goodness. So another natural law violation is assault and murder. So, yeah, I mean, these are the kinds of things, like I would look at it and I'd say, oh, well, I don't do that. I don't assault and murder. But I do eat meat, so that's a big controversial topic. I don't go out and hunt myself. But that, I mean, there's got to be other besides that, ways that I would, if I joined the military or became a cop, I would be saying that I was given a license to murder.
Yeah, that's not like, that doesn't really, it doesn't really work like that, because
we can't actually grant those rights ourselves because it's not, doesn't work like that, right? And-
Right, so in other words, I mean, the point is, I guess, of my saying that is that if I joined the military or became a cop, I would think I might be, doing it to preserve peace or freedom or something like that, but actually it's a total lie because it uses violence, and violence is initiated force. So force that is responding to violence is within natural law because you have the right to self-defense within natural law, but initiating violence is a violation of natural law. The point is I'm going to pay a I could call it karmic price for initiating violence or violating natural law. In violating natural law, I'm going to pay a price that's going to be so nasty, and I'm not going to understand it normally. Normally, people don't understand, like, why is this happening to me? Well, you initiated violence and didn't make amends for it. So the universe is going to keep taking that pound of flesh out of you until you make amends for harms you caused. And I don't say this like without, I know.
Well, part of it
I know.
too is
having ways.
you initiated this force or this violent act, and that produces fear amongst your peers. And then once there's fear amongst the peers, because of these violent things that are happening, then it justifies the need for an authority, which is how, our need for authority currently has been justified.
Oh, well, sure, absolutely. I'm just trying, but I'm trying to bring it home to like.
When you have a authority above you, then you don't have true freedom,
Right. But I'm just trying to bring it home how I could participate in murder myself. Like, how could I, or assault? Like, I mean, I don't know about you. I'll be honest. I've thrown a mug at a boyfriend
Mhm.
in the past.
Yeah, we're
So
not
I've
perfect.
initiated. That was assault.
I'm
I've
sure,
done some
like,
crazy shit.
I'm sure we've all had situations where we've assaulted others, even
Yeah, you can do it verbally.
verbally or
Road rage.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
this is the idea that we that we could look at these natural law violations and say, wow, those words, I've never done that. I've never murdered or assaulted. But in fact, if you look closely at yourself, like if I look closely at myself, I will see, yes, I actually have.
I've murdered and assaulted.
You tell. How did you murder?
Well, there's a spider crawling
Oh yeah.
across the room, and my wife screamed, and I stepped on the spider.
Oh,
That's
right.
murder.
I know that's wrong. I still feel really bad about that stuff. I really do.
I do. In fact, I don't do that anymore. Like, if my wife were to scream, and, oh, spider, I'll go get a jar out of the kitchen and capture the little guy and let him outside.
Yeah, I know.
So that's
Somebody in my
so like,
proximity
I
killed a
could
giant.
smash a little bug, or I can let it somewhere, if I don't want it to be where it is, then I can put it somewhere else where it can still,
Live.
right?
Yeah, I know. Yes, I definitely, I have regrets about these things in my past, like
How
killing.
many of you people out there have stepped on a spider intentionally?
Oh yeah, thousands of times before I realized.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, thousands of times before I realized. In fact, the most recent occurrence was not me, it was my partner. He killed like this giant black widow spider. He saw it, it was like probably like 2 inches. Its body was like 1.5 inches long, and he killed it because he was afraid it was gonna kill his dog. And I just thought to myself, this
Poor
can't
little
be.
guy.
I just thought, no, that I can't justify that. That's not justifiable. Like I can't.
Listen to the phone.
I can't justify that I couldn't have justified that. I mean, I understand. In fact, the other day we were out at our property and our neighbor, the guy who grades the road, came by and asked if he could shoot the coyotes. And I just did a prayer for the coyotes and told them to move along. And my partner kind of had to go along with it because, you know, he grades the roads and this is part of our. But I told him later, I'm like, I said a prayer for the coyotes and told them to go.
Nice.
But it's like, you know, the coyotes have a right to live out there. That's their land. You know, just
For
because
sure.
we bought the land or whatever doesn't mean that.
Just because we moved in on their, where they were living doesn't give us the right to shoot.
I mean, I just can't. It's like coyotes are practically dogs. Like if you look at a coyote, it looks exactly like a dog to me. It's like, oh, how
It
can
does.
you?
One time I thought one was a dog.
I mean, it's like these are dogs. You know, you love dogs, and yet you like. Can
That's a whole
justify-
nother thing that I was, rabbit hole I dug into a little bit the other day was dogs. You know, I was trying to figure out what, you know, because dogs are all like bred and mixed
Oh,
up and
God.
like basically like the original species that all our breeds of dogs came from like no longer even exist, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, does it come from something other than a wolf?
I think it is a wolf, but like it's like the like Shih Tzu breed, like can you actually trace back all the way
Oh God, no.
to like
Shih Tzu.
figure out what wolves were mixed together to make
Dear
this issue?
God, no, no way, man.
That's what's crazy, you know. I mean, and so that's another like, you know, dogs are almost like a complete man-made manipulation of other creatures by the breeding practices, which is interesting.
Right, you know, that brings up an interesting, I recently heard that animal husbandry was outlawed in Washington State or Oregon or something like that. And that it was supposedly the animal rights activists,
Mhm.
but it's really so that people cannot raise animals for food or you know, be self-sufficient on the land.
Mm.
But it's interesting that we think we have those rights to, I mean, this is a huge topic, you know, that will never be answered, you know, but it's still part of the globalist system because before we had agriculture and before we farmed and before we had domesticated animals that we raised for food, how did we eat? We hunted, you know, and that's more of a, if we even ate meat at that point. I really don't know at this point. I'm starting to wonder, like, I mean, I think I came from a lineage of meat eaters, but I think personally, you know, I'm not sure that those are the natural human. It's
I'm
whether,
not, yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
sure. I mean, if you look at our teeth look more like herbivore.
Well, plus it's hard for us to eat. We can't eat. There's hardly any meat that we can eat raw. You know, like
Oh my God.
if I, you know, like if I'm like sitting there defrosting a chicken breast on my counter and my dog eats it, he'll be fine, you know. But if my, you know, toddler walks over there and starts eating it, he'll probably die
Really? Oh, why would he die? Die? He would die?
from eating raw chicken.
Really? Because of
Probably.
the germs?
I don't know what.
The
What's
salmonella, they
in-
say salmonella. They kill-
Yeah, I mean, like it's like
I mean, I know chicken has a bad reputation, but I'm not sure. Why
you can't
would it
eat it
die?
raw.
You can't.
No, because it's bad. Haven't you seen like on those cooking shows where it's like what's that guy, Gordon Ramsay? He's like checking on. Are you trying to kill somebody? This chicken that's raw in the center.
No, I've never seen that.
Yeah. Yeah, not, you can't eat undercooked chicken, it's no bueno.
No
It's,
bueno.
it's possible, you know, you may not always die from it, but you're gonna have some.
So that's
negative
weird.
digestive
That's weird, yeah.
issues.
Is that because of the bacteria in it, or?
I don't know the whole science behind that, but yeah, I'm assuming it's because of the bacteria that are within inside the animal. You know, it's like those like survivalist shows where they have like two guys and they drop them off in the woods from a helicopter, and their whole goal is to get back out of the woods and survive it. And you know, maybe they might be like dropped off like 100 miles from the nearest
Wow.
road. You know.
Yeah, I watched
And then they have to like, you know, make little snares, and like they have like a hatchet and a backpack.
I watched that stuff. Well, yeah, but there's no chickens out there though.
Yeah, no,
But I mean, but
but
they
like,
eat birds. Are birds the same as
yeah, but
chickens, or
they
is
cook,
it just
it.
chicken?
They always cook it though, because if they don't cook it, that's when they get sick and they don't make it, and they have to call for an excursion, you know, or whatever that is, or like some rescue helicopter comes in and picks them up because they got sick from eating something they weren't supposed to.
But is that with all birds or just chicken?
Like I said,
Probably all birds.
I don't know that it's all birds and all poultry, but it's like if those survivalist dudes, like let's say they catch a squirrel, if they eat that squirrel raw, not gonna end well.
Right, because of all the.
You know, maybe like over time, like if you,
Oh, because our gut flora isn't prepared for that.
yeah, like I mean, like over time, maybe if you ate like small amounts of like raw chicken every day, eventually your gut flora would be able to handle eating a lot of raw chicken. I don't know, but
That's a good point. Good point.
I mean, on most carnivorous animals that eat meat, most of them don't cook. Actually, none of them cook their meat.
That's true. You're totally right. That's so weird.
And
I mean, I
so,
just don't
in order for
understand.
humans to eat pretty much all meat, I mean, yeah, like you could beef is one that's definitely safer to eat than chicken raw. I mean,
Right.
but it's still not that good for you. Like, I don't know. Have you ever, like, my wife
Yes,
used to
I have.
watch this show, like Strange Addictions.
Oh no.
It's this weird show, and like,
Oh no, that scares me.
yeah, it's like all these like
Oh, no.
weird things that people get addicted
Oh
to.
no, this is terrifying.
Well, there's this dude, and he was like he was like a exercise fitness freak, and was always worried about like his body tone and shape, but he was addicted to eating raw meat and raw steaks, like mostly beef, like, and the thing is he wouldn't go for like the high end cuts of
Oh,
meat. He would
no.
get like the cheap cuts of
No,
meat and
no.
eat it raw. And like
No.
he had like this like bloated stomach,
Oh my
and
God.
like he couldn't figure out why, because he was always like working out, and he had all, you know, he's all,
No,
all
he
this
didn't like
exercises to like keep his stomach,
That's so
you
weird.
know, trimmed. And like he went and saw some doctors, and they're like, well, it's because you have all these parasites living in you from eating raw meat.
Right.
Because they're like, you got these parasites in your stomach,
Right.
and that's what's making your stomach fat. I mean,
Right.
it wasn't like huge fat, it's just like a kind of like a small little bulge. But he couldn't figure out why that was, and they figured out it was because of his raw meat eating addiction, because he had all these parasites in
Oh
there.
God. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally crazy. I mean,
That is crazy.
but yeah, that's a good point. You know, that's a good point. You know, I mean, I look back at that year that I was vegan, and then what happened to me? Like, I literally started to crave meat to the point where I just was like, fine. So I just didn't know like whether that was, so it doesn't make sense given the fact that I couldn't eat it raw.
Well, there's possible that you may have been able to find like a supplemental amino acid that would have curbs that craving too.
True, but I mean, the thing is, I don't want to be addicted, have to buy supplements. I mean, that
Right,
pisses me off. Like, I mean, I probably just don't understand the body chemistry
Right,
well enough.
for sure.
I mean, like, you know, collagen, right? Is it collagen? Animal product?
Yeah, it's like what makes yogurt like thick versus
But doesn't it come from animals, like gelatin, like
Mhm.
gelatin?
that gelatin comes from animals.
Yeah, right. So I was just told by someone today that in order to get rid of a certain problem I have, I would need to have collagen. So I don't think there's collagen in plants, right?
Right, yeah, I mean,
So what the fuck?
maybe it's,
don't know.
I don't know.
It's just weird. I mean, it is weird. This is like, you know,
It could be like that,
I mean, I'm gonna try it and see if it works.
maybe
Well,
it's like a thing of like generational, you know, like humans that have been eating the meat for a long time.
Right,
throughout the
it's ancestral.
generations, and so it's kind of like we kind of evolved into needing some of that, but maybe in the beginning, we didn't need those certain
I'm sure that that's true. I mean, I think this is part of the
collagens or
thing.
whatever.
But yeah, it's like the,
Amino acids, maybe that's because we started eating meat and it's gone on for long enough that we've had our bodies have evolved to need that at a certain level.
but that's you know what, you just used that word evolve, and I don't know that that's real. You know, that evolving, because they're saying, you know, that the Darwinian idea of evolution is totally false.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've
this is going back to the,
researched into a lot of that too, and it's like there's some evidence that shows that, especially with the human and how a lot of science is saying that Cro-Magnon showed up about 200,000 years ago, and it hasn't changed. We haven't changed at all since then, like evolutionarily wise.
right,
So
right. So I mean, this is
well, and
this is
there's another problem with evolution, because Darwin's theory of evolution says that everything happens, you know, from like random mutations, right?
oh, so that's random. That's the material.
Well, there's random, but there's also like kind of like the survival of the fittest aspect of it.
That
But
was
like,
all bullshit. He
but
must
the
have
random-
paid off. He probably was a skull and bones number.
well, he was definitely a Freemason. But where was I going with that? What was I talking about? Oh,
Darwin.
Yeah, okay, so there's a thing called irreducible complexity, right?
No, what's that? Irreducible complexity.
Well, it's basically like, there's a couple analogies for it, and one of them would be like a mousetrap, right? So you have like in a mousetrap, you have like a spring, and then you have a mechanism that holds the spring back, and a trigger, right?
Mhm.
And so if you take away one of those elements, the mousetrap won't work. Take away the trigger, nothing's there to trigger the spring when the mouse goes in it. You take away the spring, nothing's there. There's no exchange of energy when the mouse triggers the trigger, you know, because there's no spring there, right?
Mhm.
And then the mechanism holding the trigger back so the spring doesn't spring just whenever it wants. You know, if you don't have that there, then there's nothing to hold back the apparatus that pinches the mouse. So take away any one of those things and the trap won't work.
Okay, so apply
So
that.
let's
to
apply that to evolution and Darwin's theory. So in humans,
in our skin, we have a enzyme, I don't know what it's called, but it's there before we get a cut, right? And the purpose of this enzyme is, so like if we get a cut, this enzyme starts working and it's what helps coagulate, whatever, what's that called?
Blood.
The blood, so that you don't just bleed out and like the cut, like, you know, heals and scabs up. And, but if that enzyme wasn't there, then you would get a cut, you just bleed out completely until you die. And so, that's being said, how would a organism, how would that come about evolutionarily in an organism if it wasn't already there in the organism from when it first came about? You know, like if let's say humans pop up or whatever, but they don't have that enzyme in their skin or blood, you know, whatever. The first batch of humans that was alive on Earth, every one of them inevitably would have gotten a cut and bled out and died, and then so there'd be no human race, period. You know?
Yeah.
So like that's an example of an irreducible complexity hit. Without having that, this, you know, these creatures, us, we wouldn't exist, you know, because we would have all died off because we would have gotten a cut, a simple small cut, and it would just kept bleeding and bleeding and bleeding, you know.
Right. No, that makes sense. So that proves that evolution is horse manure. Pretty much.
Well, it doesn't necessarily prove that evolution is horse manure, but it proves that evolution isn't what we think it is. But yeah, maybe
I mean,
it does
unless-
it might prove that evolution is horse manure.
Unless you know, we've always had that enzyme, because you have maybe you started with something with the base that was. I mean, I'm not trying to prove evolution because I think it's totally crap. I think it's just because it's so. I mean, it's materialist, right? It's
I think it's kind of like one of those polarities where, yes, there is certain forms of evolution, and like, you know, like if you look at like just the lifespan of a human, like starting out as a baby is completely relies on the mother or father to care for it. Well, it evolves into a state as when it's an adult, it could take care of itself for the most part, you know.
right.
That's a form of evolution.
We could say that we've
right?
devolved because apparently we used to live 400 years and now we only live 80.
Right.
So that would be devolution.
Yeah, that would
I
be
don't know if that's
devolution.
like because of environmental forces or what, but supposedly, I mean, but then if there's devolution, there probably would be evolution.
Yeah, I mean,
but maybe it's-
evolution. I
Maybe
think
it's
it's like,
different than what we think it is, like you said.
you know, like maybe humans, we came here fully capable of what our physiology and bodies can do, and there was no evolution there. It was just we were here, you know. We just popped up, you know, and that kind of goes back to the whole like
Or we were
what came first, the
genetically
chicken or the
modified.
egg. You know?
Well, we could have just been genetically modified by.
Either way, what, you know, but still, whether we were genetically modified or not doesn't really matter, because whatever we were genetically modified out of, if that is the case, had to have came from somewhere too, right? I mean, it's like that whole paradox of like what came first, the chicken or the egg, you know? I don't really have an answer for that
No,
right
I don't
now.
have an answer, but I mean, this is just going back, I think, I mean, we're not way off the coercion, I mean, the violation of natural law in terms of murder, because, you know, I mean, I just don't know if eating animals is murder or not. I just don't know. And I'm not quite, I don't know. Because it seems to me that personally
Well, it
have to
happens in
eat them.
nature, you know,
I
other
personally have
animals,
to eat them.
other animals definitely eat other
Animals.
animals.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the lion, it's carnivore, right? It eats other animals.
Right.
But humans, like, we don't have nearly the mouth structure lions have. So, I mean,
Yeah, I don't know.
people claim, oh yeah, we have canines. That's not really a canine. It's not like
No, I can't run down
half an inch
It's,
longer than the rest of our teeth, you know.
and then shred it, rip it apart.
It's more like we're like almost more like supposed to eat like fruit and stuff, I think, you know, because
Right.
there are certain creatures that mostly just eat fruit, and our teething structure is similar to like those animals. And because like you need like a small canine to like tear through fruit. in
Right.
certain situations.
Yeah, it could be like just that our lifestyle at that time was simple and not as stressful as it is now. I mean, I don't know. What was I thinking about? I was thinking about,
Well, we're discussing like murder, and is eating meat like considered like murder?
well, yeah, I
under natural
was
law?
trying to think about like how to apply that. How to apply the violation of natural law of murder and assault to like me, myself, so that it's not some faraway concept that I would say, oh, that's somebody else. You know,
Mhm.
somebody else may do that, but I can't imagine doing that. Wouldn't I be in jail if I murdered? But yeah, I think we covered that, you know, with the
It's a
the
spider.
spider. I mean, the thing, you know, and this is gonna be a wild thing to introduce to anyone, is that if you have like rodents in your house or something that you want to get rid of, or what you call pests or whatever, I found that there's ways to simply contact the overriding diva of the mouth of the animal and other elemental spirits and ask them to move on, and they will. So you don't have to use Roundup, and you don't have to use poison or a violent mousetrap or whatever to get.
Yeah.
And you had that experience because you tried it with the wasp nest in your basement, and it worked. So
Yeah. Well, it also has worked. We have this was before even the wasp nets. We have a lot of voles in our area.
oh, balls.
And they look kind of like a mouse. They're slightly bigger, but they're vegetarians, and honestly, they usually don't come into houses, but sometimes they get lost and they come in. You know, we had a couple make it in our house, and I put out some humane traps and caught them and freed them. You know, I didn't take them far, just like walk like, you know, a couple 100 feet away from my house and let them go. So they could easily have found their way back into the house if they wanted to, you know. But I also asked, you know, when I let them go, I said, you were safer out here, you know. I just told it, you know, I was like, you're safer out here. Please don't come in our house anymore. And, you know, like the first 2 years that we lived on in that property, we had at least 1 or 2 voles come in. But for the last 2 or 3 years, none have came in. And I haven't patched up any holes. You know, and I all I did was I caught the ones that did come in humanely. When I released them, I told them not to come back. And I also did do a prayer, a couple prayers where I just, you know, went into a state of meditation and asked, you know, the creator of the universe to communicate to these voles to not go in people's houses. And we haven't had one since. I'm not saying we won't have one again. I'm sure it's possible that another one may venture in there, you know, at some point. But I feel like ever since I did that, they kind of like have a respect for me. us now, our family.
Right, I mean,
They
it's just a
respect,
different,
oh,
it's just
that's
a
their
different way to do things. Like,
area.
we don't have to, kill things, we don't have to. And it's not our right, I mean, I just don't see it as my right.
No, it would have been a lot easier for me to just set a death trap for them and just throw them in the garbage and move on with my day to day. But no, I spent that effort. I took that effort to accept those goals as part of my community of where I live. And, you know, we have an understanding now. They do their thing outside and we do our thing inside. And we don't bother each other.
Yep. And that's kind of what happened when the neighbor came over and said, you know, can we kill this? I just went into a state of meditation that I got from some things I've read. And I asked the diva of the coyotes and diva and diva of the property and the diva of yeah, just those two, I guess. And I also asked Pan, who is the god of nature. Yeah,
Which that one from the
Pan.
Coercion.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I think he's from all, like he has different names. I just asked him, but he supposedly works for God, like he's not like an evil. He's been portrayed as the Baphomet, but he's not. He's really the god of nature, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And there's a lot written about him in the Findhorn books, like this guy Robert Ogilvie, who was one of the initial founders of Findhorn in Scotland. Do you know about that? Oh, so briefly, Findhorn during the 60s, these hippie type people caravaned up to like Findhorn in Scotland, which is at the top of Scotland. It's very, very cold. It's on the ocean. It's very salty, the weather and the air, I mean. And they were broke and they camped out at this location up there, and they were totally broke, didn't have any food, money or whatever. So they got this intuition to plant a garden. So they planted a garden, and then they would meditate and get direction on how to grow food in this incredibly impossible climate where the soil was completely salty. In the end, they ended up growing this amazing organic garden that was huge, and it became world renowned, and people traveled from all over the world to see this garden because it's impossible to grow in that neighborhood. And so they documented their experiences and basically showed people how to contact nature spirits to
Oh, cool.
get help from them. And of course, you know, it got taken over by them and eventually, because there was power there, you know what I mean? So they had to kind of take it over. David Spangler, he's one of the people that is part of the Tavistock Institute at this point, I guess. He was in on it at some point. But initially it was pure. And there's a lot of books written about what they did, and I just basically followed what they said to do, and I've had results, like amazing results. Like, you know, when I first went out to our property, which is on the prairie, I don't know if anybody knows about the prairie. It's just like hardly anything going on out there. There's hardly any flowers. It's very windy. There are birds that migrate through. There's a lot of hawks, owls. There's antelope, coyotes,
Nice.
mice. Yep, lots of mice.
How did you guys get groundhogs out there?
prairie dogs, there's prairie dogs. And, but there's hardly any flowers at all. And so I go out there and I do like a, ritual kind of ceremony thing. Just to, not very in depth because I never do anything like prepared or anything like that. And I just said, I want to work with nature out here. And I want, I just want to make that connection. And a freaking hummingbird flew into my face out of nowhere. And there's literally no flowers anywhere out there. There are now and again flowers out there, but there weren't any flowers. And I was like, oh my God. It was like a sign to me.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, I am forgetful, very forgetful, because I'm not working with nature all the time. So a lot of times I just forget until the last second, like, oh yeah, I could pray for help from nature. But I do try to get help from nature and to work with nature. And I mean, I felt like, well, this is, I'm gonna try not to have these coyotes get killed. I'm just gonna ask them to move along. And they probably will. I don't know. I haven't heard about it since. We haven't been back out there since. But I'm sure he'll say, we tried to hunt the coyotes, but we just didn't.
We couldn't find
We
any.
couldn't find anything. I'll just be chuckling myself. Yep. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I told them to move along. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I figured you need to save your ammunition. for
I didn't.
something else.
I'm not going to tell him that. Are you kidding me?
Right. They'll be like, what's this
No
thing? She
way.
told them to move along.
Yeah. No way.
Crazy
No.
lady.
Yeah. I don't need to be considered crazy by these people. These people might be my neighbors someday, if we end up out there. I don't know if we will. I kind of hope we don't end up out there, but it's too remote for me.
Yeah.
But I mean, if things get really super bad where, like it is in Australia here, well, maybe so. I don't know. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it's really like in Australia, so because I'm here. But
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Like, I mean, there's a lot of like stuff. Like it's so tricky with the media. It's almost like you can't believe the mainstream and you can't believe the
you can't.
grassroots
You just
either.
can't anymore. Like I literally saw an article the other day that said that the Supreme Court voted that the vaccine, the jab was that it was overturned, like that no one could mandate the jab. And I'm just like, that is never going to happen. I'm like, is this some kind of QAnon, like
Right.
wishful thinking
Probably.
rag? And I
Because
tried
I
to.
heard that there was actually the opposite.
the
that
opposite,
the
right?
Supreme Court ruled that large corporations should be mandating their employees.
Right, I'm sure they're part of the system. They're all bought and paid for. They've all been told that if they don't, go along with it, they're gonna watch their kids die if they're, be killed, I'm sure. That's just not true. I mean, that's just plain old. I was like, what the hell? And it was like some place called bestnews.org or something. And I'm like, yeah, freaking fake news. Like,
It's just weird.
it's just QAnon stuff. I mean, there's a lot of QAnon.
Well, that's weird too, because like, I mean,
QAnon's still around.
the thing is like if you take a vaccine or a shot to prevent something, that's coming from a completely fear-based mindset. Like, oh, I'm scared of this thing, so I have to put this thing into my body in order to maybe prevent that thing from happening to me. Well, that's a fear-based mindset. A love-based way of handling it would be like, there's this thing that you could get sick from and potentially die from, right?
Yeah.
Well, what if we had like a therapy that when that happens, it's a therapy that keeps you from dying, right? And then you
your immune system gets stronger from fighting it, and the therapy helps you to where you survive, right? To me, that's a love-based approach, would be to have a therapy, right? I mean, because then you're not in fear, like, oh, like, I'm just gonna live my life, and
Well, yeah, can
if
you imagine
something
how many,
happens, then then we came up with this therapy to resolve that issue versus inoculating everyone with a shot that's damaging their immune system.
or and plus, you know, God, I can only imagine how many animals are being killed and harmed, but with the testing, if they're even testing it, or just the amount of, like, you know,
Sure.
masks going into the landfill. Oh my God, it's just.
Yeah, it's
terrifying.
like
It's so upsetting.
3 months before all that stuff started, it's like on the whole, so everyone's social media feed was filling up with, you know, ocean, like with trash, like, you know, like shorelines just like lined and like trash and empty bottles and
Now
cans and
nobody
stuff.
cares about that
No one
anymore.
cares about that because,
Yeah.
but the funny thing is you probably take a picture of that same shoreline now, and it's not only does it have the bottles and cans there still, but there's masks in there with it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
So it's like,
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, for sure. Absolutely. No, I mean, it's insane. It's completely insane. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm not one who believes that there is anything different than, you know.
then that's already been here.
That's been here. I mean, I don't
neither-
even, I mean,
neither am I, but
again, I work for Andy Kaufman, so I'm having to look at whether or not viruses exist or whether, you know, viruses are a fake creation to cover up for environmental toxins that are being produced by big companies and in combination with lifestyle choices. That's basically what he was talking about today. This is something I'm gonna have to investigate, you know, for myself, because I have something that I got a long time ago that was called that. And so now I have to look into it. I'm like, really? Wow, that's
You mean I
amazing.
could get rid of this
Wow, yeah, it's amazing.
chronic thing?
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, it makes me very curious
For sure.
about but I mean, it would make
Well,
perfect sense. Because it would
It
be just
intrigues
another
me
life.
too, because there's some of these things that I have fear about contracting, you know.
Oh, yeah, well, see, I used to be a tattoo artist, and there was this whole big bloodborne pathogen bullshit thing class that you had to take, you know, about Hep C, and that's what came up this morning, was we were talking about a client that was coming, wanting to see him because of Hep C, and he's like, yeah, it doesn't exist, and I'm like, what? I just was flabbergasted. I mean, I shouldn't have been flabbergasted because that's his premise, right? But it just never occurred to me that, you know,
Meanwhile, they're pressuring
and I have a friend
every
who has Hep
parent
C.
that has a child to get, that's one of the first shots they pressure you to get.
Oh,
your
really? What
child
about
to get.
tetanus and that, I mean, that's just so crazy. I
No,
mean,
so
I
basically,
actually
that's
know
like one of the
someone who,
first things they do.
my
I mean, they give them
cousin-
they give them like a vitamin D booster, which makes sense, and they give them some other stuff, and then they push that Hep C vaccine on them too. I mean, you can wait and get it later too if you want, but you have to sign like a waiver that
you won't blame them.
you won't blame them, you know.
Yeah, it's amazing. I have to like really spend some time on this one now. I have to.
Yeah, I'd have to. dig
Because
into
I have
that stuff,
friends who
too.
die. I mean, a really good friend of mine who was a really important person in my life died of supposedly Hep C. But what he said
When you
was,
think about how
he
many,
basically said that you get a weird test on your liver, and then they start the liver therapy, like Lipitor or whatever stupid fucking drug they give you, and then that causes your liver failure.
Mhm,
The actual drug that they give you
right,
causes liver failure. And I'm just like, oh Lord. And it's just so devastating. I have a friend who
for
thinks
sure.
it was just devastating.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like, think about how many when you're watching TV, think about how many ads you see for like herpes medications. If you could cure yourself from that through like some sort of like a detox system or whatever. I don't know how Andy would go about curing someone of that, but
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. It's just incredible.
that's
I mean,
something
just
that
if
I
you
would
know,
be interested in, because that's something that I would want to reshare. Like, oh wait, you can do this instead of taking this drug every day.
yeah, see, that's the point, isn't it? Like they just, I mean, it's just horrifying. I mean, I just think like, I mean, I think I told you before we turned the camera on that a close friend of mine in the 80s was the first person to supposedly die of AIDS in San Francisco when I lived there, because I grew up, out there. And then, basically the idea is there is no such thing as HIV. It's a combination
So then
of
what did he die?
lifestyle,
So what did you die from then? If that's not-
lifestyle and environmental toxins and life choices like, amyl nitrate, alcohol,
Right, yeah, alcohol.
numerous sexual partners that you didn't know
Mhm.
daily or whatever the hell they were doing at that time. And then some other environmental combination of some kind of environmental shit that the materialists were
Mhm.
pumping into he said it wasn't in the air. I don't know, maybe food or something. I don't know. Again, I have to like look into it. I was so blown away, I couldn't really even listen to it. I was like, what the hell is he saying? Holy shit. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna look into it. Believe me.
I can be kind of it's all interesting to me because I can be kind of a germaphobe sometimes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I probably wash my hands more than I should and like have dry hands. because
Are you
of-
serious?
Yeah, and it's nothing, and I did that before
Really?
this nonsense. I've just always
Oh,
washed
really?
my hands a lot.
Oh, wow.
And I think part of it's just like my mother comes from a nursing background and
Okay.
she's like, there's bacteria, so you always want to, cleanliness is next to godliness. And I think, yeah, there's certain situations where, yeah, you do want to wash your hands, but
Oh, yeah.
not overly like I have a tendency.
Well, I
to
mean,
do
I think
sometimes.
bacteria, he's not saying bacteria doesn't.
No,
He's
it's not.
saying that viruses aren't real, that it's, the virus is, your blood cleaning itself.
Mhm. It's like, well, that would kind of make sense for like herpes, because it's like this blister kind of thing that like erupts and the stuff comes out of, and that stuff coming out is that toxicity that's
Right,
out of the
yeah,
body.
exactly,
right?
yeah, and he told us today that we should read.
Just it's kind of like a pimple, like you have a pimple, right? Which is a bunch of yucky stuff that
Dead skin
forms,
cells.
and then like poop pops and like squirts out, right?
Right, dead skin cells.
I mean, it's not the same as herpes, but in some ways it's similar.
Yeah, because there's some kind of something toxic in your body and you need supplements. He said there are supplements that you would need some kind of to supplement your nutritional.
Mhm.
I'm gonna take a moment here.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know what you would do, like if you had like herpes, for instance. I don't know what that would entail to get rid of it the natural way. Like Andy's talking about, I'd have to take a $700 consult.
Oh, I'll find the answer for you. Well,
I don't have that or anything, but it is something I've had fear about in my life, because it's one of the more so-called common or spreadable things, allegedly, right?
right. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yep. Yep. And in fact, a lot of these other things, like what Adam Finnegan talks about, that Lyme disease is related to herpes, as well as Epstein-Barr and fibromyalgia. They're all supposedly herpes related.
Mhm.
So
Interesting.
This painting is really quite interesting.
Yes.
And I don't know if we're gonna get it done today. Still have like a little bit of white. How much time? What time is it?
We have about 30 minutes left.
Yeah, I don't see us getting it done. That white, I gotta sit down. Oh, I did my yellow contribution, but I feel like I could do more.
I've just been kind of all over the place, putting colors down, mixing different colors.
Well, I just wonder, we'll see. After we get all the white done, we can assess whether we want to do anything else.
Mhm.
Like whether we want to go over the black with a different color. That's something I'm thinking about.
Some of the black we already have.
Yep, yeah.
I like a lot of the black though. I like, I like it being there myself. But
Okay, no, it's cool. I mean, I just wondered. It's pretty interesting, this painting. It's pretty. Like right now, it seems like to me that it's all this chaos, and then there's this tiny little window up in the upper left of like serenity,
right?
the memory of serenity.
Well, I don't know. This is kind of like a beautiful star, and this is kind of like a cool looking like sun thing or something.
Right, I know, but I'm just saying,
Like
for my take on it right now, it seems like all this stuff is on one layer, and then that up there in the upper left-hand corner is another layer.
Yeah,
in
it's
the
just like
distance.
another thing. Well, I was thinking about, which I forgot to do, like adding more little things like that in here too, like some of the blank spaces, which I didn't do.
Well, you still can. I mean, if
Oh, yeah.
we could still go back. We don't have to.
Oh, yeah.
It's oil, man. So we talked about 3 natural law violations, right?
At least.
Well, there's 2 more, because they're all theft, at least 5, like there's at least 5. For what we talk about, the monetary system, which is probably, I don't know what you would categorize that as.
I think
We talked about
there's
murder.
elements of coercion there.
Oh, totally coercion. We talked about murder and assault, which is 1. We talked about coercion. And then there's rape, trespass, and what's the last one? Oh, maybe property, the theft of property.
Mhm. Taking stuff is not yours.
Oh, you mean like taxation?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing, like, if you had like, so allegedly our taxes go towards, some infrastructure type of stuff for our communities, right? Like
Yeah, right.
paying like for like snowplows and stuff like that, allegedly. But a lot of it gets wasted on other stuff. And this is where, like, if everyone contributes, instead of like, think about this, instead of having to like get taxes stolen out of your paycheck, instead you just contribute 4 hours a week towards an infrastructure problem that the community's having. Shit's gonna get solved a lot faster.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, right, but it's still not, it still would have, it's kind of a lofty goal, kind of from where we're standing right now.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why I think it's important to look at these things and bring them down to our level so we can see how we are actually participating in these violations, so we can start to stop doing that. Start to stop.
But you talked
doing
about,
it.
like, if we're talking about trespassing right now, you just talked about one earlier where you're
like one of your neighbors on your guys' property out east. He's like, oh, I'm planning on shooting all the coyotes that come through. Well,
No, he asked our permission. That's
well,
why
he asked your permission, right?
I came to ask our permission.
Well, but did you guys ask for permission to live on that property from the coyotes?
I
that
agree. I
probably
mean-
lived there before you.
I'm totally right there with you. That's why I said that prayer, because I said, I mean, to me, I feel my partner, his frustration because he didn't used to think this way, you know, and he's got me now to bother him about this stuff. But I know that he has a great love of nature, but he, you know, he like many of us, talks out of both sides of his mouth, you know,
Mhm.
and just didn't realize how he was being,
I mean,
I don't know, he just was going along with it or doesn't know how to deal with it or whatever. So I just, you know, took it to the higher power and just said, can you please take care of this situation? Because
Well, you're almost taking it to that higher power like that is almost like asking permission to be there and asking the, you know, coyotes to move on someplace else.
right, I would say so, you know.
That's
and
kind
I
of like
just
asking
feel
for
like
permission
it's very
versus
time,
oh,
time.
shooting them
Right.
all. It's more like forcing them out.
Yeah,
Whereas,
but I mean, they have a purpose, for God's sake. I mean, you know, the thing is, I'll tell you, I think I've told you the story too already, which was, you know, the kids came by and they wanted to shoot the prairie dogs, you know, and I was just like, oh my God, you know, it sucks. I love those prairie dogs, you know, and I said that prayer. I did my little ritual thing, and I said that prayer, and wouldn't you know, a gigantic badger moved in.
Mhm.
What happened was that we were gonna, you know, let our neighbor graze his cows on the property, and he asked us to get rid of the prairie dogs because the cows step in their hole and break their ankles, right?
Mhm.
So, you know, I said that prayer thing, and this big badger moves in. And I'm like, well, there goes the prairie dog. And then, of course, they were like, well, what are we gonna do about this badger? I'm like, oh my God. People just want control is what it is. People just want control, you know? They want it, you
What
know?
are we gonna do about this badger? But the badger's not a problem.
And the
It's not
badger
breaking
left.
cows'
He
legs.
ate all the freaking prairie dogs, right? And then he went and moved on. That was it. It's like so ridiculous. And I'm just like, well, I just feel sorry for these people. They're just so lost. They're just, I mean, I understand, you know, where they're at, but they're just living superficially. They're not. I mean, I mean, if I was a farmer and I had, and this is why I have trouble with like the Christian thing, because the Christian thing doesn't take into consideration nature. It doesn't, you know, the Bible, it just, I don't think I've seen anything in there that mentions, you know, respect for other creatures that we are sharing the
Mhm.
planet with. It's just basically saying, you know, doing to others, meaning other people, but you can do whatever the hell you want to animals. I mean, that's just, to me, that's just insane. I cannot believe that.
Right.
That it's people, I mean, so we have these, you know, Christian, nice farmer type people, and they just, that's how they think. Wolves, coyotes, prairie dogs are all, you know, target practice. And I'm just like, you guys, no,
Right.
I can't
do it. Can't go there.
can't be part of this bullshit.
Can't go there.
Yeah, I mean, because it's the principle involved. Work hard. But he's come around to it. I mean, he used to hunt, but he used to actually live on the food that he hunted. I mean, he lived in the woods
Mhm.
when he got home from when he got back from,
Right.
yeah, he lived in the woods. And that day may come, you know, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen to our civilized life that we're living.
Mhm.
I really don't know. We were just talking about this today. Why were we talking about? We were talking about having a few cars around because you never know how. Because apparently they're not making that. They're starting to make cars for the automatic driving thing.
Mhm.
That's the new, like, having actual cars that you can drive yourself is becoming like that.
That's gonna be
Less likely.
the
I
past.
don't know. Is this true?
I don't know.
Have you
Maybe.
heard that?
Yeah, I mean, Tesla, you can already get a Tesla that have, you know, self-driving capabilities, and apparently Tesla's coming out with a phone too, a smartphone,
Oh, God.
and they're gonna have their own network and their own. It's gonna work on Mars, of course, because they're trying to go to Mars.
Mars? What?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
Where have I been hiding?
and
Under
like
a rock?
this new Tesla phone, it's gonna have like
Who's going to Mars? Are people actually fucking going to Mars?
the SpaceX. They're trying to get there. They've got rockets and stuff.
Do they-
and
You think they
That's
really
one
are
of
going?
Elon Musk's dreams. And
Have to get back to transsexual Transylvania, huh?
these Tesla phones are supposedly gonna work off of like their own satellites, SpaceX satellites. So it's not gonna be on like the Verizon. I mean, you could probably get on the Verizon plan if you wanted to, but if you're up in the boonies where there is no Verizon cell service, you're still going to be able to use your phone through the SpaceX satellites.
Ew.
Yeah. So basically, essentially, it'll be a satellite phone. It's going to charge itself through the Tesla solar panel technology. It's going to have much greater integration with the Tesla cars. Like, you're going to literally be able to drive your car using your phone from your parking space to the front of wherever you are to pick you up.
What?
Like so you'll be able to get on your phone, your Tesla phone, and you'll be able to say, you know, car, come pick me up here, and the car will drive over there and get you, so you don't have to walk to your parking spot or whatever.
Like, yeah, go.
Yeah.
Have your little,
Or like, for instance, you're in your office working, right? Your Tesla car is parked out in the parking garage. Some thug comes up and he decides to steal your car, right? So he gets in the car, steals it. Your Tesla phone gets an alert saying that your car is in motion and that, you know, are you driving it? And that, you know, you're like, no. And so it has a thing on, you know, through the phone where you can say, my car was stolen. And so now the car locks itself and locks the guy that stole your car inside the car.
oh, yeah.
And then you type into your phone, you tell your phone, drive my car to the nearest police station.
Oh, yeah.
And you drive the guy that's stealing your car straight to the police
Oh,
station.
yeah, that's a
in
good
the
idea.
locked
Oh,
Tesla.
that's a really good idea. I can really see how that could be used against you at any time.
Right?
Sir, we're not gonna take you to the mountains. We're gonna take you to
Here. Like, your smart car has detected your smart car did not like the sound of that car. You are now quarantined. We are driving you back to your smart house. As soon as you are locked in your smart garage, we will let you out of the car.
That's right. Oh, yeah, we don't,
But-
your smart car doesn't like that book it sees that you're reading on your seat.
Your smart house has noticed that
Oh, my God.
your groceries are low. Unfortunately, you're under quarantine, but thankfully, we have ordered groceries from the local Safeway to be delivered to your house. So don't worry, you know, your refrigerator sensor worked and you're not going to starve on your 2-month quarantine.
Oh, my God. No, I actually, yeah. Okay, yeah. God. I mean, that was basically what.
Achoo!
Oh, I know, I saw that on Telegram. I saw
Doors
that.
are locking. Sir, we have your smart house has sensed that you have a cold.
all doors have locked. So you can quarantine, so you won't infect any other human beings.
That's kind of what, I mean, that's kind of what they were talking about like getting these kids to play Splinterland so that they can make money for their families. Just the fact that they want the kids on these AI headset things so that they can mine how they think and how they react and how they. It's just so terrifying. Oh my God. It's just like, and the commercial that they had on from the World Economic Forum was basically saying like, oh, and your child will learn empathy by interacting with other people on the game. And I'm like, what about learning it from like interacting with actual humans in fucking the woods, man? Oh my God. I'm like, no thanks.
How about interacting with
No,
normal
thank
humans?
you.
You have to like share your toys and like.
Oh, no, thanks. I'm not interested in that. Nope. No, I'm not interested. No. It was pretty bad. It was horrifying. Actually, that was what I was listening to on the way up.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But yeah, we were actually talking about like this metaverse thing. I mean, I'm just keeping myself totally ignorant of it, but I guess a lot of people are into this metaverse thing.
Okay.
Do you know about this?
No.
Oh, this is Zuckerberg's.
Oh yeah, Meta.
The
It's
metaverse.
just like
Yeah, it's like a
he's
virtual
creating
reality.
like
I
a
mean,
virtual
well, like
reality,
literally, like Mark,
Matrix.
one of my coworkers was saying that big fashion designers have purchased land in the metaverse so that they can sell virtual clothes to you when you're living in the metaverse. This is just like that thing that your dad
The
was in.
Second Life.
Yeah, the Second Life.
It's the same thing. He's just
Yeah.
copying Second
Yeah,
Life.
but it's like gonna
'Cause
be
that's
a
what
whole
he does.
thing. That's what's
He copies things and makes it better.
right,
That's what Facebook was copying someone else.
right,
He
right.
stole that idea and made it better. He knew how to write the code better than the original people.
Right, but
And-
the point is, who cares? Because it's like, people are actually, I mean, just the idea that you as a parent wouldn't have a say over whether your child worked in the metaverse. God knows what kind of crazy pedos your kid could run into in the metaverse, I mean, just you just wouldn't have control over the kid anymore. They can go on the metaverse and.
Well, what's weird about the metaverse is like, isn't that kind of like redundant? Don't we already have like a universe that we live in and interact with humans?
Right,
But if you live in the metaverse, you can fly.
yeah, but if you live in the metaverse, you could change your race and your gender and you can do whatever you want and you can.
Yeah, you can fly.
I mean, but the point is
you can
that,
fly.
What's good
You
is
can fly.
they all can be in there and the earth will be empty for the rest of us to live on. That's what
Right.
I'm hoping for. Oh my God, it's so crazy.
I don't know. It's weird.
It's totally crazy.
How do we know we're not already in a metaverse?
Yeah, fuck. I feel like I'm tripping. I can manufacture.
According to
freaking
the
acid trip.
the writer of the famous movie trilogy, The Matrix, would say we already are in it,
Yeah,
a
exactly.
metaverse. And
Yeah, I'm not gonna play. How's that? Yeah, maybe I'm already in one. I don't know. Could be.
yeah, it's possible.
Fucking whatever. I don't know. I can't go there. To me, that's like,
Well, some of physics says we are, and that the whole reality we call the universe is actually a simulated reality.
I mean, this is so, just because, let's just say this, okay, just because we're in a simulated reality, it doesn't mean we get to violate natural law, though.
No, it doesn't, because that's what the parameters of the simulated reality is the natural laws.
That's
what
right.
we're talking about.
Exactly. So it's like, that's why, like, what's the point? See, the thing is to me, the only reason to create something like that was because you're trying to avoid, having to
natural
live under
laws
natural
of,
law. You want to live by whatever laws you want to live by and have no consequences for them, but it's just easier, honestly, to live by natural law. It really is.
For
Yeah,
sure,
you're
it
right.
is.
It's all, literally, I knew someone who actually said to me, oh, well, I don't have free will because I can't walk out my third floor and fly. It's like, dude, oh my God, you're so crazy. I think that's pure solipsism, really,
For sure, yeah.
to think that way. It's not okay with you to live within parameters. Like you think the human mind is the alpha and the omega. Like you think that you should be able to choose the parameters. It's insane. It's complete insanity.
It's just eugenics, playing God. It's like, what does God do? He enforces the parameters of the reality we live in, right? God's laws are basically natural law because nature and God are synonyms for each other, And so that being said, like,
right, again, with this
redundant. It's like
exactly what this
redundant.
boils down to. It all boils down to man wants to be God.
Mhm.
Man doesn't want to have
And that's
rules.
a fear ego attachment is what one,
Yeah,
man wants to be
Because
God
man
because they
doesn't
want
trust
control
God.
because he's afraid of
No.
not being in control
not having enough,
or not having enough control.
or not having his needs met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which really the needs are pretty basic. We've gone way past our basic, what we need as our basic needs. We basically all we need is like food and shelter and, security, right? Like the notion that, no one's going to infringe on our living domain, like we're always doing. We're always violating other creatures' living
Oh, yeah,
domains.
right. Absolutely. You still going?
Yeah.
Wow.
We're still going. Let's see, we're still live.
I think I'm at I'm done for the art for tonight. I think I'm. Yep, how much time we got?
Like under 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. Yep. So I see another spot in here where that same serene little spot is, and it's the same color and it's the same. That's really interesting. Did you know that? Did you do that on purpose?
Where's that?
In that moon shape.
Where?
There and there. It's the same landscape. It's behind.
Oh yeah, I
behind
did
the
that.
chaos,
I
dude.
did that a long time ago
Behind
too.
the chaos.
I forgot
I'm
about
talking
that
about
one.
this
That was
chaos.
my balance that I put for that.
Yeah,
on this
that's like we're trying to get to this point. We're struggling to get to the.
We're inside of all this.
Yeah, we're
We're
inside all
trying to
this.
get to this
Yeah.
and this.
Yeah, that's what I see is the
For sure. I agree.
answer to the prayer that we ask for when we.
Well, it kind of represents the fractalization and the fracturedness of like everything, it's like, oh, you got this like beaming like, pyramid of energy here, which is actually kind of similar to like something like that, right? But then you have like all this like weird like fish thing, and then you have like this
That's like a
thing, and
serpent.
then like you have this. This could be interpreted as like a sun or some sort of weird like bacterial creature thing that's like it's all this like weird tentacles coming off of it, yeah, that's a lot of would be read into that.
But what about the birds? The two birds, that's really interesting too. Like,
Oh yeah, there's like a bird head here
yep.
and
And
a
then,
bird head here.
oh, there's another bird. Yeah, and there's one right there.
Right where?
Right
Right here?
there. Yeah, that's a bird
Oh yeah.
with a wing.
There's also kind of like this weird like
large-headed humanoid thing. You got like eyes and like.
What? Oh, I
elongated
didn't see
skull.
that guy.
thing.
Wow. Oh, that's
It's like
weird.
a
I did
weird,
not
like-
see that.
Like
Wow.
nose thing here and like some
Wow,
weird
I
like
didn't see
eyes.
that.
And
Oh,
then this
so-
is like red, like in the inside of his head. kind of
Wow,
thing.
he's imagining the whole thing.
Maybe, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, no, I didn't see that guy.
Which is weird because he kind of like, this kind of guy kind of mirrors that guy. Like the head is the same angle. It's kind of looking up.
Oh,
There's this
I see an
like
elephant.
manifestation of like light coming out of this guy's hands, where this one doesn't really have any hands, but it has this weird like kind of like sun like.
Oh, so you think that's maybe the subconscious of that guy?
I don't know. Could be.
Guess we should turn off the camera
Yeah.
because we have.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight, everyone. You can always get more information. We're working on building out our website and getting more and more information for you guys out there to drawing nature in. So we will talk to you next week, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time till 8 p.m.
There's no throw it. You put it on your